Another incredible week of the NFL season, and we're looking ahead and ranking every team from 32 to number one. And we've got some big shakeups this week. Some teams that we had pretty high that were really disappointing this week end up dropping. Some teams that we had pretty low, they jump up. So I'm excited to kind of get into the rankings, talk about it. A really fun Monday night game between the Browns and the Broncos that we're going to talk about. And I'm excited about this one. Before we get into it, though, I got to give a huge shout out to all of you guys. We posted my conference championship previews on Saturday night for college football, and the love and support you guys have shown on that video has been truly unbelievable. The best weekend that this channel has seen in quite some time. And we're getting very close to 4,000 subscribers. So I just want to give a huge thank you to anyone that is new around here. We do lots of NFL and college football content, and so thankful for each and every one of you guys that has come along this weekend. Be sure to check out my Patreon if you haven't, where we've got my NFL draft guide, scouting reports, and interviews. We're going to start ramping up the interviews here again pretty soon as well. So lots to be excited about in the life of this channel, but let's go ahead and get into it with the number 32 overall team. No surprise, it's going to remain the New York Giants. A game against the Cowboys where they didn't feel like they were ever in the game, but it never really felt like they were out of the game either in a weird way. They played Drew Lock, which I think was the right decision. He gave this team a little bit more life, but the truth is, I don't think this season can get any worse for the Giants. Dexter Lawrence is now going on IR, and this has just been a complete disaster of a season. I've been on record saying I think Brian Daboll should stick around, and I do stand by that. I think Daboll is a good head coach that deserves that opportunity to still prove that he can win. He didn't draft Daniel Jones. He was handed that situation, and I think they can really make some noise here happen if they can get the right quarterback in the room, because this is a talented roster. I don't think they're as bad as their record shows on paper. I like some of the guys they have in the run game. I like Malik Neighbors. This team has dealt with an incredible amount of injuries. They've dealt with a bunch of things happen to them that you just don't want to see, and they continue to lose games. I believe they started off 2-3. They've lost 7 straight, and it just can't get much worse from here for the Giants. So injuries, complete just not showing up for big games. Drew Lock, he didn't have a bad game, didn't have a great game either. They are what they are. And they're the second worst, or they're the worst team in football. At number 31, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders. A really interesting one. A game where they probably should have beat Kansas City. Weird penalty stuff going on late. Surprise, surprise. And the Raiders end up dropping another one. Talk about a Raiders team that you still really don't feel like they've figured it out, but they have figured one thing out, and it's that Brock Bowers is a generational prospect. We throw that term around very loosely in the college football and scouting world. Oh, this player's generational. He's the best we've ever seen at this position. It's like, okay, Brock Bowers was that, and he went number 13 in the draft. We all were like, why did the Raiders do this? I love the pick. I think I gave it a B+, and the only reason I didn't give it an A was because I didn't understand the pairing with Michael Mayer. That being said, Brock Bowers has been even better than I thought he would be. We're all talking about Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels as Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I'm like, I think it probably should be Brock Bowers right now. He's been unbelievable. Jacoby Myers has been incredible the last few weeks. And this is an offense that seems to somewhat have an identity. They seem to be playing well right now, which you got to give them that. They're just not a very talented team. They've got a lot of injuries. Malcolm Kuntz went out. Crosby has missed some time. The offensive line's not amazing. Shout out to my guy, Delmar Glaze. He's played well. But, yeah, it's a Raiders team that I don't feel great about. I've got them at number 31. Haven't felt great about them all season. They haven't really won enough games to really prove why I should feel better about them. At number 30, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are a part of one of the biggest stories we're going to have in the football world this weekend, and that is the Trevor Lawrence hit. We'll talk about that right now. Azeez Al-Shaair basically tries to murder Trevor Lawrence on the football field. It is one of the dirtiest hits I've ever seen on a quarterback in my life, and I think I would suspend Azeez Al-Shaair for the rest of the season. In terms of Trevor Lawrence, prayers up to him. I have no bad blood with Jacksonville as a Colts fan. They seem to always beat us. But I like Trevor Lawrence, and I like their fan base. I've had great interactions with the Jags fans. I never want to see anything bad happen to this team. Trevor Lawrence gets absolutely rocked. He probably shouldn't have been in this game, was dealing with some shoulder stuff that didn't look great from the get-go. But he ends up going out of this game. They make a bit of a run late. They're still disappointing overall. They extend Walker Little this weekend, which I thought was an overall solid move from them. I mean, I don't really have a lot of notes on this game from Jacksonville. Again, third team in a row. They stay where they are. They are what we thought they were. Defense made some plays on C.J. Stroud again. Stroud, once again, did not have a very pretty game. I thought the defense created pressure, and they made life difficult on him. But, yeah, I thought it was a fine game from Jacksonville. I liked the fight they showed. I loved Evan Ingram sticking up for his quarterback. And anybody questioning if this team would rally behind Trevor Lawrence, I think that this team proved that yesterday after sticking up for him. We pray that Trevor Lawrence is healthy and that he's going to be able to make a full recovery. It was a brutal hit, had to be carted off of the field. But we'll see what happens. I still got the Jaguars stand at number 30. At number 29, another team that didn't move up or down is the New England Patriots. Now, Patriots team that they probably should have won this game, in all honesty. Their offense in the red zone really struggled. They completely choked, I think, 3 different possessions in the red zone. Offensive line penalties left and right. Leighton Robinson was getting penalized. Mike Onwenu got penalized a couple of times. Darian Lowe. The false starts, the holds, the offensive line penalties pre-snap completely killed any momentum they had. And they had all the momentum in the world. Drake May was absolutely dicing up this Colts defense. Gus Bradley didn't call a very good game. Let's be completely honest. He played a very weak zone coverage against Drake May, and he picked it apart. Every single pass he was throwing, 5, 10 yards, dime, on the money. Didn't do anything out of this world in this game, but he made plays in this football game. They continued to run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson, and I thought Gibson was the better back in this game. There were a lot of questionable coaching decisions from Gerard Mayo down the stretch. I think the biggest one would be kicking the 68-yard field goal in 30-degree weather with the wind in your face that was about 7 yards short. Why? It didn't make any sense at the time, doesn't make any sense now, especially when you got a quarterback like Drake May, who he has that cannon of an arm. You saw Jaden Daniels do it just a couple weeks ago, and Drake May's got a way better arm than Jaden Daniels does. On the defensive side of the ball, I thought you had some good play from the secondary. They were able to make some plays happen. The play where Jelani Tavai tipped the ball, incredible disguise play. They had an overall solid game. Didn't move up or down. I like the way that we're seeing Drake May play right now, though. He looks confident. He looks comfortable, despite having maybe the worst supporting cast in all of football. At number 28, it's official. We've moved down any Jet stock that I had left. I think we can sell it all off now. It's time to go. This was a Jets team that I was completely dead wrong about. I had the Jets in the Super Bowl this year. For those of you that go back on my early season predictions, I had Jets Packers in the Super Bowl. One side of that's looking pretty good, but the Jets have been the biggest disappointment maybe of the last decade in the NFL. The team that had so much hype coming in, Aaron Rodgers going to be healthy for a full season. You've got Hassan Reddick. You got Devontae Adams comes on this team midseason, and it's been unbelievably awful in this game. Aaron Rodgers, I think, has been getting an unfair amount of criticism for the way this Jet season has gone. Granted, you're the quarterback. You're a guy that's as outspoken as Rodgers is. It's going to happen. He deserves every bit of criticism he gets in the game yesterday against Seattle, because I do think he's the reason they lost this game. The defense was decent in this game. Sauce Gardner had his best game of the year. I thought they did a pretty good job on Geno. The special teams was weird in this game on both sides of the football. But Aaron Rodgers was missing throws left and right. He had Garrett Wilson wide open in the end zone where he just sailed them. Bad pick six to Leonard Williams that gave Seattle life. And Seattle was able to march down, move the ball. I think Rodgers is probably done. I hate to say it. Rodgers is one of my favorite players I've ever gotten the privilege to throw a football. First ballot Hall of Famer. But, I mean, I think his career is probably over. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about, oh, he could come back next year. Who could he play for? I don't really think anyone is going to pick him up to start for their team next year. I just don't see it happening. And it's unfortunate that it happened this way for Rodgers, but it's just the nature of the business. And I got the Jets at number 28. At number 27, we got the Carolina Panthers. Complete opposite of the Jets, a team that a lot of people were really low on. And I said I didn't think the Panthers were going to be a playoff team, but I thought they could get to 6 wins this year. I still stand by that they can get to 6 wins. I think this team could go 6-10 and win 3 of their next 4 games. This Carolina team is a ton of fun. Unfortunately, they lost this game in the stupidest way imaginable with Chuba Hubbard fumbling it, missed tackles that gave Bucky Irving some plays, and Bucks were able to get in field goal range and win this football game. But the resurgence from this 2023 quarterback class has been absolutely remarkable. C.J. Stroud was viewed as the only good quarterback from this class 4 weeks ago. Since then, Bryce Young has gone on an absolute tear, been better than C.J. Stroud over the last 4 weeks. I don't even think that's debatable. And he's proving why he's the number 1 pick. He's playing with confidence. He's playing on time. That accuracy that we saw at Alabama, it's there. Some of the plays to Adam Thielen in this game and the connection they had going was great. Xavier Legette didn't have the prettiest game. The defense is still miles from where you want it to be. But the offense is showing why Bryce Young was the number 1 pick. Dave Canales has done an incredible job of getting this team back on track. And do I think Carolina is a team that I like for next year? Absolutely. I think with what we've seen these last few weeks, in a tight one against Tampa and a tight one against Kansas City, you won a couple of games. They have some life that I don't think Carolina fans have experienced maybe since Cam Newton. So I'm super happy for Bryce Young. I don't think I could be happier for any player in the league. He's playing good football. I got Carolina staying at the same spot at number 27. At number 26, we have the Tennessee Titans. I'm not so happy for Will Levis as a Colts fan, but Will Levis has played some really inspiring football the last couple of weeks. Him and Anthony Richardson are tied at the top of the league right now over the last 3 weeks in big-time throws at 11. Will Levis looks really good. The pocket presence is he's still leaving stuff to be desired. Had a bad turnover in this game. He's got to get that cleaned up. But the accuracy has gotten better. And some of the throws that Will Levis makes at times just leave your jaw dropped. He's been really impressive the last couple of games. Granted, hasn't gone up against the greatest secondaries in the world. Washington secondary has been a major concern all year, and he had a good second half in that game. And then Houston secondary has also been a major problem all year. So take that with a grain of salt. Levis is still playing good football. I'm not taking anything away from him. I've been impressed. The defense was the concerning part of this game, which has been the opposite of how the Titans season has gone. Just allowed Washington to get off to a really quick start, and they were never able to really claw back into it. In the second half, they started to move the ball a little bit. They started to put points on the board. Nick Westbrook-Akine is turning into like a legitimate weapon for this team. He seems to pop out at the back half of every season for the Titans and just come out of nowhere. He's been pretty impressive for them the last few weeks. This Titans team hasn't been as bad as I thought they were going to be. They're 3-8. Yeah, they're losing football games. They beat the Texans last week, but the way they kind of fought back in the second half I thought was impressive. And like I said, I think Levis has looked pretty solid over the last few weeks, given the circumstances. So I've got the Titans at number 26, and they stay where they were at last week for me. At number 25, we got the New Orleans Saints. Seems like the Darren Rizzi undefeated experiment is kind of dead. Unfortunately, I kind of think the Saints season is probably dead. And as stupid as it sounds, it's the Taysom Hill piece. He goes out, he's out for the rest of the season. I think their offense is done. If you look at the on-off stats when Taysom Hill is playing and when they're not, This offense is night and day. Their offense was absolutely brutal against LA. Now, LA's offense wasn't much better in this game, but yeah, they couldn't move the ball. Derek Carr was not that impressive. They had no receivers in this game. The offensive line was average at best. Yeah, not really a pretty game if you're a Saints fan. And maybe it's better you get a better draft pick. You can maybe look into the quarterback market or try and dip your toes into this receiving market, because I don't know if there's a worse receiving room than the Saints. You can talk about the Raiders. You can talk about the Patriots. That's fine. I think the Saints are right there with them. One of the worst receiving cores I've seen all season long. And I got them at number 25. Not a great team. They're going to be scrappy in some games. They're going to make some plays, but this is a team that probably is going to finish at like 5-12 this year. At number 24, we got the Chicago Bears staying where they are. Thank the Lord that Matt Eberflus is gone from Chicago. As a Colts fan, I actually hope Eberflus comes back as the defensive coordinator, because the defense has been far from the issue with Detroit. It was the offense. And Thanksgiving, we're all watching this game before our meals, and I cannot explain what happened in that final 30 seconds. You get one snap off with 8 seconds. That's the game. Look, Eberflus is in charge of the team. Should have called the timeout. I get the plan, but if you see things aren't going according to the plan, you have to pivot from the plan. Caleb Williams, you can blame. I get it. He's a rookie quarterback. That's not really his call to make. Thomas Brown, you could also blame. He's the offensive coordinator. Also not really his call to make. It's Eberflus' responsibility to call a timeout at that point. He didn't call it. Bears lose the game in a game that they were basically in field goal range. Like, they had every opportunity to win that game. On the positive side, incredible second half from Caleb Williams, who has played really good football the last 3 weeks. I think a lot of people are going to point to the first half. He was not good in the first half. Inaccurate, was under pressure, made bad decisions, held on to the football too long. Second half was more of the Caleb Williams we'd seen the previous 2 weeks, getting the ball out of his hands quickly, playing on time, and making smart decisions with the football. I like what Thomas Brown has done with this team in terms of coaching the offense. How is he going to look in the interim head coaching spot is the question, but I think this Bears team can compete. I think they got ballers on both sides of the ball, and they've been decent. So we'll see. I got the Bears staying the same at number 24. At number 23, we get the Cleveland Browns. They drop a spot after a game against the Broncos that it was winnable. It was there. Jameis Winston throws 2 pick sixes. Say what you want about Jameis Winston. You've never seen him play in a boring football game, and that was for sure. There was a stretch in the third quarter where Bo Nix threw a 93-yard touchdown to Marvin Mims, and then Jameis comes back the very next play, throws a 70-yard bomb to Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy was incredible in this game. The defense was uncharacteristic. A lot of deep balls thrown by Nix where the safeties just kind of collapsed. There was the play to Mims where it was kind of double coverage and the safety kind of sold that play. I like this Browns team, though, better than some of the other teams because Jameis gives them a different level of energy, number one. And number two, the defense is still in the upper echelon of defenses in the NFL right now. Do I think they're elite as a football team? No, but Troy Aikman made a good point. If Deshaun Watson wasn't on this team, how would this team have started? And this might be a completely different looking Browns team. They played spoiler, weren't able to get the job done against Denver today, but I feel a little bit worse about them, but they're mostly on the same tier that I had them last week. And number 22, maybe my most controversial take, I have the Atlanta Falcons at number 22. So let's talk about it because I've been on the record, and I was on the record this offseason that this defense was very likely to be the worst in the league. Defense actually played well in this game. The Chargers really struggled to move the football. And I thought the defense was decent in this game overall. Ladd McConkey went off on them. He had a good homecoming back in Georgia, but the offense was brutal. Kirk Cousins, man, we got to talk about it. 0 touchdowns, 4 picks. horrible passes. I think there was a weird stat, like he didn't throw the football over 36 miles an hour, which is pretty alarming. I think most of us could throw a football 36 miles an hour. That's nothing. I don't even know where to begin. It looked like he was throwing balloons that were filled with helium, and they just kept floating in the air. Ugly passes all day long from Kirk. They can't really bench him either, especially next week going back to Minnesota. I think that's in bad taste. So what do you do? Because he's kind of a liability for you right now. Was awful in that Denver game, was awful in this game, and he hasn't been great all season. The mobility or lack thereof is really showing, and you drafted Michael Penix, number 8 overall. Would you consider throwing him in the lineup? I don't know when would be the case, but you're 6-6 now, and Tampa's now tied in the division. Tampa's schedule is very easy, and if you lose this weekend to Minnesota, you're now a game back of Tampa. I know you have the tiebreaker, but this went from good to bad to ugly in the span of about 4 weeks for the Falcons, and I don't see it getting better. And if you look at their wins, none of them feel very convincing. There's no game in there where you're like, oh, what a win for the Falcons. There's a major red flag going off still with this Falcons team. Something's not right, and they dropped 4 spots to number 22. At number 21, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Can't move them up or down. They continue to lose because I think their defense is one of the worst defenses in the league, maybe the worst defense in the league. Put them up there with that Falcons team, I guess. Every game, they're just find new ways to just collapse. Secondary has been brutal. Cam Taylor-Britt had a pick 6 that should have been a pass interference. Let's be completely honest with ourselves. That was an absolutely brutal play there from Cam Taylor-Britt. And then the offense, again, moves the ball incredible. Joe Burrow is playing the best football of his career. It's not close. Jamar Chase is having the best season of his career. The whole offense is clicking on all cylinders. And they continue to be let down week in and week out by this defense. Russell Wilson threw for 400 yards on this Bengals defense. That shouldn't happen. They have to get a safety. They have to get edge rushers. You need to do what the Panthers did back in 2022. All defense. Don't even worry about the offensive side of the ball. Every pick needs to be defense. It's been brutal. And I don't know where you go from here if you're the Bengals. The playoffs are gone. I don't think there's any hope of that. But, man, really, really disappointing team. And still a team that I feel like if they were in the playoffs, I would have a hard time betting against this offense because it just gets hard to score in the playoffs. And I don't think a lot of teams can match their firepower. But you got to be able to win football games in this league, and you got to have a good defense, and the Bengals do not. At number 20, we got the Miami Dolphins. I only have them dropping a spot. It was an ugly loss against the Packers, and they continue to prove that this team can't play in cold weather. That's why I never really moved them up. I know some people were ready to talk highly about this Dolphins team. I wasn't there yet with them. I had to see a little bit more, and unfortunately, we just didn't. Tua in cold weather games hasn't been great. You didn't get much from the defense. I thought the Packers had really whatever they wanted in this game. And you kind of got to go back to the drawing board with this team. They went out, and this is a team that needed physicality. They needed guys built for the cold weather. And they kind of went out and did the opposite, getting Odell Beckham and getting smaller on the defense by adding Chop Robinson and getting rid of Christian Wilkins. Moves that didn't make any sense, getting rid of Robert Hunt. And I think it's going to cost them. They're a good team. They've got firepower on offense. They're able to run the ball really effectively with Devon Achane. And I like all that for this team. But I still have concerns about the cold weather with this team. What I will say, before we move on from the Dolphins, people trying to say that Mike McDaniel is one of the worst coaches in the league, I think is a complete and utter disaster. Mike McDaniel is still, in my opinion, a top 10 to 12 head coach in the league. The offensive scheming is incredible. He gets guys open on this offense week in and week out. This isn't about Mike McDaniel. It's about the culture in Miami, and they just haven't built that physical culture. I don't think that falls on anybody but the GM, and that's kind of where I stand on that. Dolphins drop a spot in there at number 20. At number 19, the San Francisco 49ers. I think their season is officially over. You could talk yourselves into them getting back into the playoff mix. The NFC West is a complete and utter disaster right now. Two teams are 6-6, one team is 7-5, and they're only 2 games back from the lead in the division. But having 0 tiebreakers and seemingly every player on your roster injured, there's going to be cause for concern. I'm out on San Francisco. They were in a tough one against Buffalo where they just never looked like they were in it. You can blame the weather all you want, but this is a team that is incredibly talented, and they have been able to win these cold weather games in the past. They weren't able to get it done, and now you're missing McCaffrey and you're missing Ayuk for the entire season now, and I just don't see it getting any better, and I believe that Jordan Mason's also hurt. So if half your team is injured, I don't feel good about it. I really don't feel good about this Niners team. Purdy did not look very good in this Bills game. Granted, it's a weird game, but they had to win it. This was a have-to-have-it game, and they weren't able to do it, and they're now 2 games below 500, and I've got them at number 19 going into next week. At number 18, I got the Dallas Cowboys jumping up 10. I don't feel great about it, but it's based on how teams are playing right now in the last 2 weeks. Dallas has looked pretty impressive, not just with some of the playmakers. I think Rico Dowdle is, for whatever reason, they're able to run the ball again. I didn't know that this was possible for the Cowboys to do this year. Rico Dowdle's been making some really impressive plays in the run game, and that excites you if you're a Cowboys fan. You're still getting good play from CeeDee Lamb. The special teams has been really impressive for them all year round, but it's the defense. Micah Parsons looks healthy and better than he has all season long. You're getting good play from the defensive line and the linebackers. The play DeMarvion Overshown had in this game where he tipped the ball to himself on a blitz, read it perfectly, tipped it, caught it, returned it for a pick six. One of the best defensive plays you'll see all year. Am I sold on this Cowboys team? No. But with the way their defense is playing, and now you have the ability to run the ball, and Cooper Rush has been pretty good for them. He hasn't been turning the ball over. He's making smart decisions with the football, and he's putting up good numbers for them. Do I think Dallas is a playoff team? No. But I do really like what we've seen these last 2 weeks from Dallas, and I got them sitting at number 18. I think they've looked really good the last 2 weeks, and I think it's time to show them a little bit of love after I think we had them at 31 a couple of weeks ago. So shout out to this team. Unfortunately for them, if you continue to go on a hot streak, I think Mike McCarthy could stick around, which would be bad news. But either way, got him at number 18. At number 17, up 3, we have my Indianapolis Colts. They're up 3, and it's not really because I feel great about them. It's mostly because I feel worse about Miami. I feel worse about Atlanta, and it kind of just shook up this whole area. Indianapolis is a good team that I think is going to miss the playoffs again. After the Denver loss today, I struggle to really see a path to the playoffs unless Denver really chokes. But this Colts team is a team that when they need a stop, they're never going to get it. Their defense has been so bad all season long. The linebackers in coverage are bad. They can't tackle. I think they need a complete overhaul at the inside linebacker position. I also think defensively or in the secondary, they just play too weak. Gus Bradley, his scheme has been really disappointing. They didn't show Drake May really any pressure in this game, and he had all day to throw the football and was picking their defense apart. On the other hand, the offense, Anthony Richardson had a much better day. 2 picks that were – one of them was not a great throw. In the fourth quarter especially, you started to see Richardson fall back into his old habits. Bad footwork, overthrows, and just some stupid decisions. But that last drive, he was surgical. The receivers continue to let him down in this offense. He threw 2 dimes to Kylan Granson and Adonai Mitchell, both drops. Didn't matter. They were able to score. And then the balls on Shane Steichen to go for 2 after scoring a touchdown and going QB draw with Anthony Richardson, powering over Christian Barmore. Really impressive stuff. And I was impressed with what we saw from Indianapolis offensively, especially with the ability to run the ball. I thought Jonathan Taylor had one of his best games of the season. Still got to figure out this defense, but overall, impressive day. They're going on a bye week. Get this offensive line healthy, and let's try and beat Denver. That's the goal for the Colts right now, is beat Denver. If you lose to Denver, the playoff hopes are dead. If you beat Denver, there's still a puncher's chance you can get in, because Denver still has some games against the Chargers, and I think they have another game against Kansas City that if those go their way, Colts could get back in it. But either way, I got them at number 17. At number 16, we got the LA Rams remaining the same. Again, don't really know what to make of this team because the offense was not very good in this game. They weren't able to move the ball very effectively. The last 2 weeks, I think their offense has looked, how do I say this? Unconventional of a Sean McVay-led offense. I'll say that. Their offense just hasn't been explosive, and Stafford hasn't looked incredible. On the opposite end, your defense is playing good enough football to kind of mask those issues. Jared Verse, I think, is running away with Defensive Rookie of the Year right now. He's been incredible. I think you're getting incredible play as well from guys like Braden Fisk. Omar Spates was awesome in this game for them. Cam Kitchens as well. I like this Rams team. I don't know what their ceiling is, and I don't really know if they're a playoff team. Weird matchup against the Saints, and that's why I didn't really move them up or down. I don't really know what to make of this game from them, but it was a win. They're at 500, and they're right in the mix of this division. So I got them at number 16. At number 15, down 3 spots are the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe I'm still too high on this Cardinals team. They've let us down in back-to-back weeks, but I will say their defense has kept things interesting. At the very least, neither of these games have been blowouts. It was a game against Minnesota and against Seattle that were very winnable, and they probably should be 8-4 right now. If you look at the remainder of their schedule, it looks very easy. They probably could still win this division, but the defense struggling in late moments, I don't love it. I don't love that for them. Late in this game, Sam Darnold got some life. They were able to move the ball. Aaron Jones was playing well, and they kind of choked the lead away. I don't love that. I don't really get the lack of Marvin Harrison Jr. in this offense either, because if you watch the tape, the guy's getting open. He's making plays, and when he's targeted, he's been incredible. I had another touchdown yesterday, but I don't really get why Gannon is not using the best receiver in the draft. I still think Marvin Harrison has been the most impressive rookie receiver outside of maybe Brian Thomas. Use him. Like, get him the ball. And I don't understand why they're not manufacturing touches for him to try and get a rhythm. A weird game from Arizona. One of the weirdest games of the weekend. Feel a little bit worse about the Cardinals, but I'm not out on them. I'll say that much. I got them staying kind of in the top half of the league. I got them at number 15, and I think they can definitely turn things around in the back half of this season. At number 14, we've got the Washington Commanders staying where they are. Really good first half from this team. Jaden Daniels made some incredible plays. He ran the ball in for a touchdown. You had a couple of touchdowns to Terry McLaurin. This team feels like they've got their mojo. And then the second half of this game felt like they were trying to find ways for Tennessee to come back and win. Didn't really matter. Washington was able to prevail and stay where they are in my power rankings. Look, I think Washington's a good football team. They've got some players that I really like. Jaden Daniels has been good. And that being said, I think that this team is going to get destroyed in the playoffs. They're not very physical. They don't really have a great O-line. They don't really have a great D-line. And the back end of the secondary, you trade for Marshawn Lattimore. He's yet to make his Commanders debut yet. That's big for them. And they cut Emmanuel Forbes as well. So really nothing on the secondary that you're getting right now. And Will Levis had a really good day. So I don't really know what to make of them. I don't have them moving up or down. I'm holding some thoughts on them until we see them against another good team because the last few weeks haven't been impressive. And the second half of this game kind of reaffirmed my fears about Cliff Kingsbury in the second halves. And second halves of games, second halves of season, tries to find ways to lose games, it seems like. So nothing that wowed me, and I got him staying at number 14. At number 13, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers jumping up 2. I know people are going to be surprised to have Tampa this high. This is a Bucs team that beat both the Lions and the Eagles at their full strength. And they're getting healthy, and they're playing really good football right now. The defense was okay in this game. That's still going to be an area that you would like to see some improvement on. Creating pressure more consistently, forcing turnovers, helping the secondary. But the offense didn't put up a lot of points, but it felt like they could move the ball. The development of Bucky Irving as a runner for this team has been really remarkable. The contact balance, the speed, the ability to catch passes out of the backfield. You feel really, really good about what you're getting from Bucky Irving at this point. He is clearly the number one back on this team. They continue to feed him. Baker Mayfield, clutch when it matters most. And you get Mike Evans back. The offense seems to be clicking like we thought it could. I love this Tampa team. I think they're going to win this division because I'm so low on Atlanta right now. And this was a gutty win. The secondary made plays. Chase McLaughlin hit kicks when it mattered most. And if you can continue to play at this level, you can win 10 games with the remainder of this team's schedule because it's very easy. And they can get into the playoffs with ease and win this division. And I'm really high on Tampa right now. I've been really impressed with what we've seen. Liam Cohen's doing a really good job with this offense. And I think Tampa's legit. I got him at number 13. At number 12, we got the Houston Texans jumping up a spot. And it's not a team that I still feel great about. It took them 3.5 quarters to really get anything. It took them 3 quarters, I should say, to really get anything going against Jacksonville, who we mentioned is one of the 3 worst teams in football. The C.J. Stroud piece of this is so concerning. Everyone was so quick to talk about C.J. Stroud as one of the 3 to 5 best quarterbacks in the league after his rookie year. And I was like, let's pump the brakes, all right? Played a very easy schedule last year, and they only made the playoffs by a singular game. He was great as a rookie. He deserved Offensive Rookie of the Year. What we've seen this year has been the opposite of that player. Blame the offensive line all you want. He's not making good decisions, and he's just spraying footballs all over the field. It's not good. The turnovers have been a concern. It's not C.J. Stroud that I'm most worried about, though. It's the secondary. The big plays that this team seems to allow week in and week out. They don't seem disciplined on defense, which last year felt like the opposite. Because if you looked at this team was disciplined. They came ready to play. This year, big plays, big penalties, big hits that are getting players potentially suspended for the season. Yeah, he apologized. I don't really care about an apology. You tried to kill a man on the football field. So it is what it is. This Houston team's fine. They're probably going to win this division. Sitting at 7-5 right now. I believe they're 8-4. I might be wrong on this record. Either way, though, I don't feel great about this Texans team. They are what they are. I still kind of stand by this year's Eagles. I don't think that record's right. I think they're 8-5. Either way, they jump up a spot, mostly just because I feel worse about Arizona. At number 11, remaining the same, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Really impressive win, gutty win from this team. Defense has been playing really, really well the last few weeks. Leonard Williams has turned into a superstar. Traded a second-round pick last year for him. Was dealing with some injuries. He's back, and he's playing great football. Byron Murphy's been really good for him. And then the secondary, Devon Witherspoon, Julian Love. Like, this Mike McDonald defense is starting to show its true colors and show why he was such a coveted defensive mind coming to Seattle. The defense won them this game. It's plain and simple. They forced turnovers, scored points, made life really difficult for the Jets. Offense is able to get some stuff going, but this team won because of their defense. And that's back-to-back weeks where I think the defense has been absolutely remarkable for Seattle. I have them at 11. I don't really know what this team is. I was lower on them last week in the same spot. Didn't feel great about having them at 11. This week, I feel pretty good about having them at 11. I think they're clearly the best team in the division this week. I think that with the way the defense has played the last couple of weeks, you would feel really good about the way that they are playing. And there's definitely a world where they can win this division. And having to go up to Seattle for a playoff game is never an easy task, even though you'll probably have Green Bay. So that might be a tough one. But either way, I got Seattle at number 11 remaining the same. At number 10, also remaining the same, are the Denver Broncos. Denver's been really impressive. I thought Bo Nix didn't have a great game, but made plays when it mattered, had a couple of big passes, and Denver was able to win this game, mostly because of their defense. It's weird because I want to get up here and say the secondary was bad, and it was not great. They were really missing Riley Moss in this game. Seemed like Jameis was able to throw the ball all over him, had like over 400 yards. With that being said, though, the pass rush for Denver has really connected. Nick Bonito is turning himself into a superstar, plain and simple. Had a pick six in this one. Been able to create pressure all year long, as well as multiple other guys on this defense. I like the way they're coached. I like the way they're playing. They're hard. They're physical. And they're just a tough team to beat week in and week out. Like I said, Bo Nix didn't have the greatest of days. The defense didn't have the greatest of days outside of the 2 pick sixes, which I know we'll talk about. 2 pick sixes. They didn't really play a great defensive game. Didn't matter. They were able to fight, play good football, and win the football game. So I got Denver staying at number 10, was really impressed. They're going on bye, and as we mentioned, that game against Indianapolis is pivotal for playoff seeding, and we're going to have to see how that one plays out. But I got them at number 10. At number 9, we've got the LA Chargers dropping a spot. The offense was not very good against Atlanta, and Atlanta defense that has struggled. I think they had 187 total yards in this game. That's not something you feel great about. I'll be completely honest. Lad McConkey was awesome in this game, but the inability to move the football was concerning. Now, a win is a win. You force 4 turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. That's what you feel good about. The defense has played really well all season long for the Chargers. Dion Henley's played well at the linebacker spot. You've been able to create pressure. And then Tarheeb Still out of Maryland, a player that I was really low on. I don't even know if I got to his tape, to be completely honest. Looked really good in this game. Had a pick six and was a big part of the reason why the Chargers were able to come out on top. It is what it is. It's a win. I didn't feel great about it for the Chargers because I am a little bit concerned about what that offense showed, but I got them just dropping 1 spot to number 9. At number 8, it's the Ravens. Now, I would have had the Chargers stay the same, but I can't really justify the Ravens being below the Chargers after they just beat them a week ago. So we have the Ravens at number 8. And, this team's a little concerning because it feels like when they are behind, they can't really get back into the football game. I don't really know why that is. It just seems like in their DNA, they can't get back in the game. I also think that the secondary remains a massive concern that not enough people are talking about. A.J. Brown was able to really cook this team throughout points in this game. The pass rush isn't as good. This defense is a lot worse than it was last year, and I think offensively, it's pretty one-dimensional. If Lamar's not really getting it going in the run game with Derrick Henry, I don't really trust this passing game. As you can talk about how good Lamar has been passing-wise, that's fine. They don't have weapons, though. And when you face a good defense like the Eagles, it's going to be tough to win those games when you don't have a defense that you can trust to combat them, and you don't really have multiple ways to win. Outside of Zay Flowers, I don't think they have very good weapons. And what was the point of trading for Deontay Johnson? They don't use him in this offense. I loved that move at the deadline. I thought it was the best move of the deadline. It has been horrible. That's one of my worst takes of the year, that he would be a difference maker. He is not. This Ravens team is fine, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. I think the Super Bowl teams are the top 6 teams, and I don't think that, unfortunately, I don't think Baltimore is one of those teams right now. At number 7, we've got the Minnesota Vikings jumping up to. Really impressed with Sam Darnold in the second half of this game and second half of that Bears game as well. He's looked really good, and some of the throws that he makes week in and week out, I don't know if the Vikings are going to let him go. I don't know what happens with J.J. McCarthy. Maybe you trade J.J. McCarthy for a first-round pick back, because in this quarterback class, you might be able to get it, because I think teams are going to be desperate to look for a quarterback. Darnold's been really impressive. Aaron Jones turned the ball over early. It was a slugfest early on in this game, but the Vikings were able to come back, win this game, being down, I think, 2 scores in the final quarter. Impressive stuff from Darnold. Impressive stuff from this pass rush. I thought they were pretty good down the stretch. And this is a Vikings team that they're 10-2. They're probably going to be 11-2 after beating Atlanta next year. I don't see how Kevin O'Connell's not coach of the year with the way that this team has played. 11-2 with Sam Darnold at quarterback, the injuries, losing some key pieces in free agency, and it hasn't mattered. He's been very impressive coaching-wise, and this Vikings team is going to be a tough team to play in the wild card. I've got them at number 7. At number 6, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers jumping up a spot. Russell Wilson's coming off his worst game of the year, and then he comes back and has his best game of the year. Was awesome in this game. Some of the passes was off the charts. It looked like vintage Russ again. 400 yards passing. And the ball dispersion. You got Pickens, and you got Austin and Freiermuth, and the running backs are getting involved. And we all knew the defense was good, but the way that the offense is able to move the football, it's impressive. This is a different Steelers team than we've seen in years prior. And if the defense can play this way, they're going to be a hard team to beat in the playoffs. They just are. Defense wins championships. And when it gets colder, you need your defense to show up. This team has multiple pass rushers. Peyton Wilson was my linebacker 1 ahead of Edgerrin Cooper, which at the time was a pretty controversial take given the medicals. And Peyton Wilson has been off the charts this year. He's been incredible. Really like what we've seen from him. Nick Herbig has been great. Don't really have a bad thing to say about the Steelers this week. I got them at number 6. At number 5, it's staying the Kansas City Chiefs. They continue their devil magic. I don't really know how they keep getting away with these. For Chiefs fans, they're like, we're 11-1. What more do you want? This team has not looked good in any game they have played all season long. And they're somehow 11-1. This is not a team that I feel like has the makeup to be another Super Bowl team. Where you face these good teams like Buffalo, like Baltimore, they've struggled. I know they've won a couple of these close games, but how many of these are they going to be able to pull off? And is it going to carry over into the playoffs? I don't really think so. Mahomes has not been great this year. The tight end room has been okay. I think Noah Gray has been one of the bright spots on this team. But the lack of weapons, the lack of elite defense, which has also been a bit of a concern because it doesn't really feel like they're getting a lot of stops like they have in years prior. This whole season feels weird for Kansas City. I still have them in the top 5, and they stay at number 5. At number 4, staying at number 4, it's the Green Bay Packers. I'm sticking by that. I think they might be a Super Bowl team right now. I don't want to see Green Bay get hot. I don't think the rest of the league wants that either. Jordan Love, really good game on Thanksgiving. He had a great one. You got good play from Josh Jacobs, who's like 3rd in the league in rushing, and it's been silent. Crickets on how good he's been for this team. Jaden Reed was awesome in this game for Green Bay. You're getting good play from Tucker Kraft, and the defense finally feels respectable. Like we've talked about Xavier McKinney and the interceptions, but the pass rush is starting to finally hit home for this team, and they're able to create stops like they haven't been able to in years prior. I really love this Green Bay team and the way that they're playing. I think they are far and away one of the best 5 teams in football. And I know Vikings fans were upset that I had Green Bay ahead of them last week, but I stand by it. I've got Green Bay at number 4. At number 3, another team staying the same is the Philadelphia Eagles. This team has been unbelievable the last few weeks. I think they've won 8 straight games, something like that. Despite Nick Sirianni not looking like a great coach early on in the year, the way they're able to run the ball with Saquon, the weapons that you have in the receiving game, yes, you're loaded, but A.J. Brown being healthy is such a difference maker for this team. On top of that, the defense has been so impressive. Nobody saw this coming from this Eagles defense. Like, we knew Jalen Carter was special. Who thought Milton Williams was going to have a breakout year? Zach Bond is playing at an all-pro level at the linebacker position. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are going to be, you could argue Quinyon Mitchell will be on an all-pro team as a rookie. He's been that good. Cooper DeJean has been unbelievable for them this year. Everything is clicking for this Eagles team. And I got him at number 3, mostly because the top 2 also stayed the same. At number 2, it's Buffalo. A game that was a awesome game to watch because the conditions and guys just slipping and sliding everywhere. But Josh Allen is the MVP front runner. It's probably close to locked up if he hasn't already. He's playing out of his mind. He's not turning the ball over. And this Buffalo team is able to move the football with ease, it seems like. I've been really impressed with what we've seen from them. Defensively, too, feels like now with Matt Milano back, they have so many different ways to create stops. You've got the secondary that's playing better than it ever has. You've got a pass rush up front with Ed Oliver and Von Miller, who's playing good. And you're also getting good play from Greg Rousseau. It's a great Buffalo team. I got them staying at number 2. And then at number 1, despite all the defensive injuries and the weird second half stuff, I do have the Lions. They're 11-1. I love the way that the offense is playing. It doesn't seem like anyone can stop this offense except themselves. The defense, yeah, you'll have some concerns about. Can they kind of stay healthy throughout the rest of the season? Because injuries have plagued them all year on the defensive side of the ball. They've stayed upright, but a Thursday night game against Green Bay is going to be a real test. I think Green Bay is going to win that game. And from there, I think a lot of people are going to start having conversations about this Lions team and their future. But I love what we've seen from Detroit. I think they're playing great football, and they stay at my number 1 spot this week. But that's going to do it for me in this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think? Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.